I'm
All
going to
right.
go ahead and maximize the slides, Rick, till we get into the application.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Good morning again, everyone. So this is the day in the life training here for salespeople, utilizing Ubix. And again, what we're going to focus on, the goal today is to convert that lead to a prospect. So the training is going to be broken into two parts. Today is getting that person from an online lead, getting them on the phone, and then ultimately getting them in front of you. So that could be at your model home, your showroom, or your office, or your coffee shop, whatever you do. And then the next time we meet is going to be looking at how to use the system from taking them from a prospect where you've met with, so they're an A or B prospect, and moving them through to, say, a home site reservation plan deposit and purchase agreement. But anyway, the goal today is going to be mostly on online and using the phone, those particular techniques. So let me scroll down here a little bit, and we'll get going. So the technology tools that we're going to be focusing on are going to be email, number one, and then we're going to be focusing on Ubix, obviously, in the tracking part of Ubix, and then number three will be, I'll talk a little bit about using texting to reinforce your email and your phone conversations. And one thing I've observed so far, just looking at builders versus remodelers, I don't know why this is, but I found is that either a home builder that does not use model homes or a remodeler, they're typically a little more technologically advanced. So I guess the challenge to all you home builders today is to really step up your game. And I'm trying to figure out why that is. And the only thing I can come up with is that I think home builders, when we utilize model homes or available homes, we use that as a crutch. We put too much pressure on the home to help us make the sale. And when you're a remodeler or a builder that does not utilize inventory homes or model homes, you've got to use more technology tools to create the visuals and the believability that someone should go with you. So that is my initial thought for the day. But what I want to get at here is focusing on return on energy, because as a salesperson, energy is your most valuable asset. And we've got to focus on energy on the tasks that get the results. So if we chase down the wrong leads and we focus on wasting energy on them, it does not allow us to spend energy on the leads that are going to convert to a prospect and ultimately a buyer and owner. So this is what it's all about. It's leveraging technology to increase your return on energy. And one of the things a mentor of mine taught me a long time ago is he said, most salespeople don't burn out, they rust out. They rust out. And the reason they rust out is because they were never on fire. If a salesperson is going to get on fire, if you think about it, if you are a really high-performing salesperson, it's because you're very efficient at what you do. It takes you less time to get the job done, so therefore you can do more of it and you can increase your income and increase your sales. But if you don't know what to do or do it wrong, you tend to rust out because you never get on fire. So we want to avoid looking like this particular automobile here and rusting out. So let's start with and looking at that lead versus prospect conversion right now. So all of you have websites, and we've done some work on all of them to put the lead capture tools in there. But our goal is to get 3 to 7% of your website unique visitors into the system. So 3 to 7%. So looking at what does that look like from a case study standpoint? Well, a very attainable benchmark for everyone, and some of you are twice or 3 times this, is to get 100 unique visitors each week. So if you look at it this way, your website is your virtual showroom or your virtual model home. Okay? So people are on it all the time. There's people on it right now. We're trying to capture 5 leads a week or 22 leads a month or 260 leads a year if you have 100 unique visitors each week. Now, some of you have twice that or 3 times that, so double or triple that number. And you can see where it becomes a real challenge to try to manage these leads. So the automation of the system is great because it identifies who is hot and who is sales ready. But ultimately, it's up to you as a salesperson to take that lead that's been identified and convert them into a prospect, get them on site, and then do that voodoo that you do so well. Remember, the lead is simply a one-way conversation. It's simply a one-way conversation. So they've gone into the website, they have opted in and given us permission to follow up with them, but they really aren't ready to talk to us or perhaps come out. So they're researching. We're not really sure what stage of research they're in, but we know that they're interested in, in something that we have. A prospect is a two-way conversation. So really somebody becomes a prospect when you talk, I'd say talk on the phone, because there's very limited information you can get from an email exchange. So it becomes a two-way communication. And remember, if we're going to have a lead that is going to convert to a prospect, we have to dial into their favorite radio station. And of course, every lead's favorite radio station is WIIFM. The good news is because the system that we're using helps identify what their interests are. So we're asking ourselves the question, why would a lead or prospect want to hear from me? And if we figure that out, and we can, utilizing the technology in the system, if we figure that out, then we're going to be able to convert more leads to prospects, more prospects into buyers, and more buyers into owners, and we all make more money. We all have good sales, and we're all happy. So we're going to go through that specific process of tuning into their favorite radio station and figuring out what their interests are. And once we figure out what their interests are, your process that you use, and this is a big one, you want to take a note of this. This is the big one. When I see salespeople making mistakes, is that they do not utilize controlled release of information, meaning that you sort of throw everything you got at them the first time and you hope that they fall in love with you and want to buy something. But that's not the way people shop. Okay, people are taking a long time. They're doing their analysis. They're doing their reviews. They're looking at your competitors. They're looking at used homes. They're looking at at a lot of different stuff, and they always have three choices. Choice number one is they can do nothing. Choice number two, they can buy from somebody else, and choice number three is they can buy from you. So in order for you to stay relevant in their world, you have to figure out what's their primary interest or interests. You have to slowly release that information to them. In other words, you give them just enough to be interested, but not too much so they go away. Give them just enough so they're interested, and when they want more, you say, okay, well, this is what you have to do to get more. So it's like playing tennis. Somebody's got to serve first, but then once you serve, you got to return. And then you go back and forth with a volley. So what you're doing is you're simply having a game of tennis, if you will, with your prospect. So here's what we know. There are three built-in hot buttons, or three interests of every single lead and prospect. These are built in. So they're either interested in design, location, or pricing. But here's what we don't know right now. If they have design interest, they already might have a good idea of what their location is, or perhaps already bought their home site. If they have location interest, they may have a good idea of what they want to build for a design, but they need a place to do it. And if they have pricing interest, they might have an idea of what their design is, what they want to do, and where they want to do it, but they need to figure out, does it fit into their budget. So what we're going to do now is actually, look at how leads are coming into the website, and Runa's going to give you some stats, and then we're going to dial more into how do we use the interests, figure out what their interest levels are to create desire. So Runa, you are up.
Okay, very good. The first portion of my part of this is basically going to talk about the website and how we actually create the leads, identify the leads in the system. So a main focus we have is basically to use the website, and I think by now we probably, for most of you, have made this transition. The question is, what is the focus of the website? Is it brochure, or is it lead capturing tools? If it's company-centric, it basically tells your story. If it's customer-centric, it addresses those three key interests: location, the design, and the price. So, of course, we use extensively NIH as a case study in this, and we will do the same thing going forward. What we found is that from the website, 40% of the leads and prospects actually comes in to the website. And actually 45% of the hot leads in the sales funnel actually originates, on the website. So the opportunity cost is massive if we don't leverage this, and I know this is the main focus for now, and it has been for the last couple of times, and probably will be for the next couple of times going forward, is to make sure that we are not losing out. That I think in the last sales seminar we had a quiz, and I think we all agreed that there is opportunity to leverage more the sales-free opportunities that we find. So we have built in, and we continue to build in capabilities on the website is basically for capturing leads. So the most effective currently is the design library, where we can go in, we can engage, a prospect, someone coming in on the website, and basically get information about what's important to them in the home. And you're probably pretty familiar with that. We're also working on some other ones. One with Star Tingle, Sanctuary Homes. We are in the testing process of this right now. And it's basically an application that we have developed. We have registered it to Facebook. And we can invite friends and family and essentially everyone else to come in and follow along on a project. So in this phase, we will invite people to register for the application. And then as the different phases are released, we will publish that and move them step by step, going from site selection to foundation to framing and to all the steps. And this eventually then leads in to the next one, which is, and I'm going to minimize that. The next major thing, which we're actually rolling out right now, is the open house event management. We're starting out with open home. We're going into remodeling. We are going to do open house of realtors. We are going to do home show. And so this is in the process, but the open house is basically released. As soon as you have an open house, we will download this for you. And basically we found that this is a major effective tool of engaging leads and to convert them into prospects in the system.
And one thing one thing I want to mention too to all the salespeople is, if you are not intimately aware of what's going on in your website, you need to be, because what we're going to show you now is that when you're with someone, let's say they walk into your model home or they do call you on the phone, is you need to know that, hey, okay, built-in hot buttons, locations, price, and design. You can direct them, use your website, what you have on it, to capture their information, saying, well, I will send you a link for our design library, or you can follow our projects on Facebook, or we have an open house coming up. So it's very, very important that you're intimately aware of how that's working. So interest versus desire. So we go in now and we look at, okay, people are interested in their design, pricing, or location. And now we got to figure out is if we're going to convert them into a prospect, is we got to create desire. We got to create desire, which is very, very important. Interest is the key. Desire is the action that happens. What's in it for them again? So from a design, if they're interested in design, we have three primary tools here. Number one is your design library, so they can look at more floor plans. And your design libraries should be set up, and most of you have it set up this way, but they should be set up as where you have some of your current plans where they can view. So they can see things that you are doing or have done. And then they will have a call to action that if they want to see your enhanced design library where they can search for nearly 2,000 plans, then they opt in. So in other words, that's a controlled release of information. I give them just enough to get them interested in design by saying, hey, look, I've done some floor plans and they're relevant, you might like them, and then they want to get more, so they'll actually opt in to the design library. The past projects or following projects, that's again the Facebook application. That is what we're really excited about, and Star, who's on right now, is going through testing on that as we speak. And then the open house is what Runa just went through. So those are your three tools. Now, let's say their interest is location. How do we create desire here? Well, there's three different ways, maybe two for some of you. Number one is, of course, your current neighborhoods, where you're currently building, what's available there. Number two is new and upcoming neighborhoods. I have a client right now that has a new neighborhood coming up they're holding back pricing and plats and everything, but they're telling people about it. Hey, this is coming up, and then the call to action is, would you like to get on a priority list? So as of right now, they've built a priority list of about 8 people in the last 2 months just by using this technique. So if you have new or upcoming neighborhoods, you want to be talking about them, but again, don't give out too much information. And if something doesn't fit right with what you're doing right now, put them on the priority list. Some people actually even ask them to put down money, so they can get first, second, or third choice of home sites. Okay, and then this is one that works really, really well. If you build scatter lot off-site, is you gather and create a geographic area lot list. I know not all of you build off-site, but if you do, you gather and create this. And the hot button word here, you want to write this down, of course, is bank owned. It doesn't matter if you have a list of 200 lots and 200 are bank owned, or if 200 are. But everyone thinks they want to find that below market asset, bank owned. So it's important for you to try to figure out any bank-owned lots are out there, even if they're not the greatest lots in the world. Use that as an enticement for them to move forward. All right, so what if they have desire? Next would be in for price. How does that work? Well, a few different ways. MLS, okay? So multiple listing service. And how are we using multiple listing service should be your question. Well, from multiple listing service, there's a couple of things you can do. Number one is, of course, is you can give them or work with your preferred realtor and give them a CMA on their backup home if they have to sell. Okay. Number two is you can show them a CMA if you have an available or a model home. In other words, if someone buys one of your homes, they have to get an appraisal done, and it has to be priced competitively with the marketplace. Why not do the competitive market analysis yourself and just show them, help them logically justify that, hey, you are a competitive builder moving forward. So again, I have clients that I tell them to do a CMA before they ever start building that particular model home. So making sure it's market priced with the market before they ever begin, and then once it begins, every 30, 60 days, you should be doing it again. Number two, completed projects, and obviously your base price and your option price. And then number three, for remodeling, handling wood. Very, very important. But the most important, the theme around all the pricing is, it's not you telling them what the pricing is, it's the market. In other words, the multiple listing service is comprised of market pricing. Your completed projects are what customers like them have been willing to pay to build. So it's market pricing. Hanley Wood is third-party pricing on popular remodeler projects around your area. So it's all market pricing. You never want to use the words, of course, well, our homes are, our home costs this much. It's based on the market, the breadth of offering for the neighborhood. Keep it vague. Make sure it's in their budget. And, of course, they need to do something more, like get on the phone with you or actually come to meet you in order for you to get closer on pricing. And, of course, how many of us have made the mistake of where we email out the pricing, or in the old days we'd fax it out, and, of course, we'd never hear from the buyer again. All right, so how does the process work? 3 steps, 3 simple steps. So number one is we are going to solicit an email response. And this is important. You want to underline this, write it down. Setting a time to talk on the phone. Setting a time. So not calling them, without utilizing some other tools, which I'll show you here to talk on the phone first. But setting a time to talk on the phone and then scheduling the on-site meeting. Remember, lead comes in, the first thing we're looking for is just to get them to respond to one of our emails. Give them just enough information to want to talk on the phone, and then just enough information so they'll come on site. All right, so let's start with number one, is how do we get an email reply? Here's the 10 do's and don'ts, and I will send this list out afterwards, so I'm going to go through it fairly quickly, so don't worry about taking down all the notes from here. Number one is you should never be sending group emails from Outlook because you have Ubix. Okay, Outlook is designed for a one-on-one communication, not massive communication. Don't email too often. Don't send email without a reason. Don't send the cookie-cutter company content. And don't send from a personal email address. Those of you that have a Hotmail, Gmail, whatever it is address, make sure you're using your company email address. Otherwise, it looks very unprofessional. All right, so number 6, obviously you have the spell check on for your email. Be careful of your subject line, because your subject line can get your email filtered, can go into the spam folder. So these are just a few words that you want to take out or keep out of your subject line. And I always want to keep subject lines less than 50 characters. And remember, spaces in between words count as a character. All right, so try to keep your emails short. I have 100 to 200 words, and a lot of my emails are less than 100 words. And then most importantly here, number 10, is don't ask them to take more than one action on an email. You remember the old days we had email newsletters, and there was 6 categories, and there was 6 different things they could do? Today, people's attention span online is measured in seconds. So the most important part of email, as we will learn, is the subject line itself. But the email has got to be short, concise, and it has to have a singular call to action, which we will talk about next. So what are the 10 do's of email follow-up? Do act immediately. If you get an e-lead, you have to get on it right away. Now, I have another business that I do vacation rentals. And I have websites that I advertise on, and people can send me emails from the websites. Well, it doesn't always work this way, but my goal would be is to immediately respond to that email when they're still online. Because then I can talk to them, I can drive them back to my page because they're going to look at multiple properties, just like they look at multiple builders, and I can try to ask them to take action right now. So you got to act immediately. 24, 48 hours is an eternity when it comes to e-leads. Do use curiosity to motivate. You want to highlight that and you want to write it down. By far the number one, the number one tool to get someone to engage you or respond to your email. Creating a sense of urgency is always important, which is why the open houses work so well, because it's a one-time only, it's a specific date. We do want to continue to focus on education. We want to focus on building the relationship. We want to give special attention to people who show interest. That one's pretty obvious. We want to be, obviously we're using personal and automated emails. So the nurturing program is all automated. You guys don't have to worry about that. All you're doing is monitoring that. But the personal emails have to go with it. You can't do it just one way or the other. It has to be a mix. Obviously the HTML emails are important, so you have the nice masthead, and we're putting those together for you. The opt-in, everybody you have in your system should be opted in, and then most importantly, the most important thing about an email is the subject line. Because if you have a crappy subject line, it doesn't get opened, and it doesn't matter how good the content is. So this is where we're going to take a little bit of time and focus on some training, is that subject line. Okay, so let's look at the formula. And you can write this down right now, AIDAT. This is a formula I learned years ago as it relates to calling someone on the phone. And so it works for email, though, and what I've done is I'm going to take it and I've transferred it over to show you how it works with email. But AIDAT. And what Runa and I will do is, Runa, what was it that you were calling that we're going to put like a template inside Ubix for them with this formula with tips for each of these areas? What was that called again in their customer one-on-one? Do you remember what I'm talking about, Runa? Ooh, we can't hear you, Runa.
Oh, can you hear me now, Rick?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, great, yes. It's not a template, and I will hopefully remember what that's called, but in the email, you can basically select a pre-configured email that you just copy into the content area of your email, and you can modify it. So what we will do is that we basically set up as a template, so you can remember, all these, these items that ought to be in there.
So you'd be able to start your email, and you'd have this formula in front of you, and it would just tell you, okay, for attention, remember to do this, this, and this. Interest, do this. Desire, do this. Here's your call to action, and then your simple thank you. So we're going to give you a tip, so it'll be easier for you to structure an email. And after a while, you won't need it, but for training purposes and getting used to formatting your emails this way, it would be very helpful. All right, so let's take a look at attention, and this is the subject line. Okay, so I want you to write down a couple of things here. For your subject lines, first and foremost, start with your builder acronym. So you see we're using NIH as a case study. So NIH stands for New Innovation Homes. So we have NIH. So Hallmark Homes, HMH. Michael Lee Incorporated, MLI. So use your builder acronym to start. Then I've got a colon here. Then I want to put the person's first name in there. Now, why do we do that? It's pretty simple. When they've got an inbox full of emails and subject lines, they're looking at it and they're scanning through it, they're trained to look for their name. So they see their name in the subject line, and they're more likely to open it. Now, we want to use curiosity, right? Just like this little kitty here who's about ready to get his head ripped off. But we want to use curiosity. So would this help, question mark? I'm not sure what it is that you're offering me, but I'm curious. Maybe it would help. Maybe I should open it. Again, most important part is getting that attention in that subject line. Now, the other things to remember here is capitalize the first letter of each word. So if you look at how I've done that here, Rick, would this help? Capitalize the first letter of each word. And then finally, make sure it's less than 50 characters. And this one is obviously very much less than 50 characters, but the reason we have it less than 50 characters is because when people are using, a lot of people use their mobile phones to open email, or the way they have their settings configured in their Gmail account or Hotmail or perhaps their Outlook, they can only see part, or a certain percentage, I should say, of the subject line. So if you make them too long, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so let me just go through those one more time. Start with your builder acronym. Get the lead's first name in there. Use curiosity. Capitalize the first letter of each word, and then make sure it's less than 50 characters. Okay, so let's look at interest here. So what do they express interest in? And I think this is the big one that we're training on today. So the system, or Ubix, is going to tell you what they've expressed interest in. This is the key to unlocking engagement. And remember, we're going to look at their tracks. What have they done in the past? We've got to figure out what they've done, their history, in order to figure out what they're interested in. So Runa, go ahead.
Okay, so let me advance to the next slide. And I'm actually going to then split this and have the application available to me here. Hopefully I can find the items. So getting to know the customer, from the past we discussed basically how the Ubix process aligns with building a home. And the foundation is basically customer knowledge. So that's the focus today. How do we convert a lead to a prospect? So there are three questions that I will focus on. One is, how do we find out, who is sales ready, who's engaged, who should we focus our effort on? The next one is then, is she engaged? Is she basically responding to our communication? And then the main one is the hot buttons. What are the hot buttons for those particular customers? Now, I'm going to use Customer 101 heavily, but I'm going to start out actually with the sales funnel. So in the sales funnel, we know that we can identify different categories or groups. And I think the easiest would be for me to basically expand this one and then go into the sales funnel. So you, by this time, probably and hopefully are pretty well acquainted with this. But we can see here, the different grades.
Runa, can you scroll up so they can see the menu too, and see where you're at? Maybe just show them from the menu, make sure everyone understands how to get here.
Okay. Well, we could do that basically. You basically go in under the sales funnel and then go to opportunities. Okay, and we get in here. And of course this. When you get in here, you will essentially see what's specific to you. So at this point, we are in basically a login of a sales manager, in this case, Jeremy Skogquist. So we can see everything, and we can see the items that has been assigned to a salesperson and the items that are yet to be assigned to a salesperson, and that's really the job of a sales manager, to on a daily basis go in here and make sure that they are assigned. Once they are assigned, you will go in, and my recommendation is that you are in here every day and you're looking at items, opportunities that are assigned to you. Now, the great majority of opportunities in here are hot, and that's wonderful. But there are also, others that would be listed as a cold one, as a white one. It's important to understand that we run a nightly process which basically does the scoring. And for someone coming in at the white doesn't necessarily mean that you should not pay attention to it. you should pay attention to, every single one that you have in the hopper, and particularly that has been active in the last day or two. So to do that, of course, you will go in here. You will look at the activity date. You will look at the score. You will look at the open rate, the sent, how many emails we sent, how many click-throughs we have. And then we will drill in to the customers. So in this case, let me find, actually what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just switch back to my presentation for a minute and go to the next one. And this is one particular customer that I want to focus on. So this is a lead. The first question is she sales ready? Now, going in here will then help us to focus. We have identified the opportunity in the sales funnel. We go in here and we can do certain observation. One is to see that this particular individual is heavily engaged in the consideration and also has some commitment score. So that is one qualification for being a hot lead. The other thing that I think is very interesting is that this particular individual has been very active in the last 90 days, but also in particularly in the last 30 days, there's a high level of activity. And we can see that in the last 3 days, there's 3 days since the last activity. So this one is engaged right now, is active right now. And as a salesperson, this is the first thing you will go in and look at once you identify someone from the sales funnel and you drill down. The next thing I would look at then is basically the question, is she engaged? And I would review the email communication that we have provided.
Can you show them where the email communication is in Customer 101?
Yes, we can do that. So let me expand this one again. So basically, we have that at the bottom. We have emails sent. This would be all the emails. It could be emails out of the nursery program. It could be direct email. It could be emails that has to do with open house. It's basically all communication that we have provided to this particular customer.
And Marty, you asked me a question earlier today about emailing from Ubix, and I think it's a good question to clarify with everyone. You always want to initiate a direct email from the system. But Marty was asking about, okay, so when the lead or prospect replies, where does the email go? It goes back to your regular inbox. But the key is when you initiate it from the system, you're tracking everything. If you initiate the email from your inbox, you don't track everything, and then there's no history. So when you're, trying to dial in and look at who's sales ready, or if you're dealing with a prospect and trying to figure out, are they still alive, are they still engaged with me, it's very, very important to be able to have that history of everything here, and then go back and Runa will show you, some of the metrics that you can use. So hopefully that makes sense. And Runa, I believe the technology is set up now that even if you're replying from your regular email, that the system is still tracking the clicks and the opens and that sort of thing, as long as it was initiated in Ubix. Is that correct?
Right. That is absolutely correct. Once it's initiated from Ubix, we basically, track it all the way through, whether the response is coming, back again, from the customer, and you respond then from Outlook, it's still being tracked in Ubix.
Good.
And then the email itself, you have multiple choices of initiating the communication, but the easiest in my mind will be, to go in and basically send the email directly from Customer 101. So you go in here, it has been assigned to you, you are the salesperson, you click on here and you basically go in and you can send it, right from here.
Hey, can you show them real quickly about, that layout, there we go, the one that you were talking about earlier. Thank you. You read my mind.
Yeah, right. So we will expand this actually. Right now, there's certain formats, and most of the formats are basically, specific, making sure that it includes your, your signature and, and other things. We will expand this one then to include the format that Rick has outlined for you. So you can go in here, you click on that button, and just cancel it. But the first thing then is to go in, select the layout. In here, you will have basically the one that's specific to the ADOT, I guess is the way we refer to it.
AIDAT.
So you have that.
Yep.
AIDAT. Okay, great. I have to learn to say that fast. So that would be, I would operate from inside Custom 101 in this. The other thing, as I do review, as I do the analysis, I would also go in here and I would actually, create the follow-up note right in here. So I've gone through the analysis. I looked at the overview. I've looked at the engagement. We will take a look at the hot buttons in a minute, and then I will basically decide, okay, what is my action on this particular opportunity? I will go in here and I will basically say, okay, I'm going to make, I'm going to, send an email. I'm going to do it on this particular date, and I will basically click started, and I will get moving on right from here. So when you go into the action plan, it's all there.
Marty had another question too. She asked about notes, like follow-up notes for if you take one particular lead. And Runa, I don't know the answer to this, so I guess we'll answer it right now. Are you able to roll up all your notes and put them into, say, like a PDF format and print them out for review?
No.
Okay.
No, that would actually, that's a very good question. And one of the things that I would like to do is to create a chronology of, like a timeline of a customer in Custom 101. I would like to have an option here that we could also, instead of, we have the communication here, we have the click trail of the customer here, but one of my goals would be to create basically a time chronology of all activity, a history of all communication and all activity, of a customer. So the answer is no, not yet. I am thinking about it, and it's a really good idea, and thank you, and I'm thinking about this myself.
Can you also show, so is there a way for the salesperson to be able to look at all their notes from one particular client, all at once from the system?
Well, you could do that in the action plan. You could go into the action plan, and you can basically then sort it on the customer, and you will see, all the notes being, follow-up notes, action request, general notes. So if you went into the customer name and click on that, you will basically sort it, and you will see everything for one customer, under here.
Okay.
So yes, that you can do. To do that, actually, you would also have to check general note, and you will probably also make sure that if you want to see everything planned, started, completed, and ignored, and you want to see follow-up notes, action notes, general notes, you will want to see all of that. You will go in and you will basically then click on the customer, and you will see everything together. No, this is going to be running for a little bit, I think.
So just to clarify, I go in and I do a query where I pick my date range. I'm a salesperson, and then I'm gonna click on all my status: planned, notes, started, completed, ignored,
right,
and late. I do a search. Everything will come up for every prospect or lead I have, and then I click on customer name, and that'll be sorted by alphabetically, and I can drill in and look at each customer name individually and see all my stuff.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
So Marty, if that does not make sense, send us a note or whatever, but hopefully it does for everyone.
Right. And basically the process, since we are here, the process in the action plan that I would follow is essentially, I will go in and I will resolve all of the action requests first. I will go and look at the action request, decide, do I convert this to a follow-up note, meaning I'm going to put in, I'm basically going to change the action on this one to making a phone call, sending an email, whatever. I'm going to schedule when I'm going to do it. The moment you save it, it will actually convert to a follow-up note. I will resolve all of those first, all the action requests first, and then I'll go in and will go in and basically work on all the follow-up notes. And in the sales funnel, and this is really coming along very nicely, I keep an eye on Mary, and she really is getting the hang of it. And I see that she is completely on top of it. In the action plan, there are only like a couple of days of open items that we're dealing with.
Speaking of Mary, and we had training earlier this week with Mary, and Mary, I guess I'll give you some kudos. Your appointments that you're getting with your prospects have doubled or tripled in the last month. And the thing we've been working on from a training standpoint is that you never leave one appointment without setting the next appointment. So you never leave anybody hanging. And she's getting very good at that. And the same thing goes for follow-up in the system. So you set a follow-up note for something planned based on what you just did. And I'm going to go in and show you how to do that. And so those follow-up notes, as an example, I'm going to send an email, but I'm going to show you that, hey, if you want to make that email more effective, you follow up with a phone call and a text message, and perhaps even a handwritten thank you note if you're having problems with somebody. So I would go in and I would put all those notes in here, not only to remind myself, but also this is all part of the scorecard. So your owner or manager is going to see your activity and what you're doing each week as well. So you're going to get not only more sales, more engagement, but you're going to get kudos from your owner or manager.
Okay, Rick. I did do a sort here on the. So now we're looking at everything. We're looking at follow-up notes, action requests, general notes, planned, started, completed, ignored, late. Everything is here, and now you can go in here if you want to look at chronology. Let's say you have Andrew King or you have Andy Warren. You then have a chronology here of basically the communication you had. We see the number of action requests that we have in here, follow-up notes. So that is the way to do it if you wanna see that. Okay, I was thinking of switching back again to the last question that I'm addressing, basically what are the hot buttons? And to do that, I'm going back in again to my PowerPoint presentation. I'm just going to expand that. And the area you will go to then is the scoring activity. This is all the actions, all the activity that the client has taken. So this is really where you find the answers to what the customer is really interested in. So this is just a snapshot. There are 106 actions in here from the customer. And if I glance on this one, I can see that we've had significant activity in the last couple of days. On the 21st, the customer has been in here clicking on things, 18 clicks basically on the 21st. So the question really then is, what are the hot buttons? And I'll go through this, Rick, and then turn it back to you again. So I'm just jumping in on a click trail. I'm scanning through that. I see the amount of time that the customer has spent on different items. And of course we can see that here. I have the time spent. I have the link to where they navigated to. I have the description of that. And I can then go in and I can basically click on the links and basically walk my way through and I could shadow the navigation of the customer. So I'm just jumping in arbitrarily in one place here. So at 3 o'clock on Monday, this Monday, they came in here, spent 20 seconds, basically looking at available homes. Next thing they do is they drill down to location. So they are interested in design, they're interested in location. They spent, let's see, about 4 seconds here, quick glance. Then they go into this one, and now they're really drilling down on location. They want to see the layout of the community. So they're in here. They could go to pictures. They could look at a number of things. They spent 2 minutes and 7 seconds, which is quite a long time, in this, from this perspective. And then they basically back again, to a particular model that they are interested. So that is really that is the ultimate, that is the hot button. This is where we really learn to get to know the customer. This is where we can be relevant in our next communication, and this is where we can maximize value creation, which is what this is all about, education.
Okay, so what we figured out from this person is from their desire is their interest is location. That's their primary interest. So now it's up to you to create desire. So we're going to go through now and look at, okay, I got to create desire because I want them to reply to my email. And the reason we look at this replying to an email first. She's saying, well, I want them to come out and meet with me. We want to take the path of least resistance. What is the easiest thing for your lead to do? Is simply to reply to your email. So that's the call to action that we're going to be focusing on. And then we're going to go to what's the second easiest thing they can do is, talk to you on the phone. And then the next would be, of course, an on-site meeting. So we'll follow that process. Now, they may want to come out and meet with you right away. Great. But we're always assume that we've got a tough customer and we're going to have to work them a little bit. And let's take a look at that. My T, my AIDAT is thank you, simply a thank you. And I made a note here. I like to use a signature line, look forward to talking. It's very nonchalant, but what I want to do is, of course, is we're email back and forth right now, we're emailing it through engagement, what's the next thing I want to do? I want to talk to them. So I'm going to set them up, or I'm going to sort of prepare them for the next step, which of course is a conversation. Okay, so here's how my case study email would look using the AIDAT formula. So here's my attention getter. NIH, Rick, would this help? Okay, so I've used curiosity. I've used all the tips and tools that I use for my subject line. So hi Rick, so here's how I'm building interest. One of our most popular home designs, the blank. Okay, you fill this in. You're building a plan in the particular location this person's interested in, but you're just creating a reason. It's under construction, soon be completed. The home isn't open to the public. Okay, so now I've created a little urgency, but I am showing it to a few people this Saturday. Would you like to see it? Now, what didn't get updated here is actually, Bruno was fixed the slides, is I would add in here, it's built in Spring Meadows, and I'll make sure I'll have information with me. Because the interest is the location. Now, for action, if you'd like to see it, just reply to this email. We'll coordinate a time. Look forward to talking for the thank you and my name. This is my entire email. And again, change this under the desire. It should be under that you would have information on Spring Meadows or your location. Okay, so let's keep moving. If there's questions, ask them. Otherwise, I'm going to keep moving here too. Now we're getting to scheduling a phone call. Very important, scheduling, getting them on to the phone call. Again, some people will be real easy. They'll give you the phone number, no problem. Some people are going to be tougher. So we just have to, assuming they're going the tough route. There's two tools here that I'm going to give you. One is automated with Ubix. One is something you can use called TimeBridge. TimeBridge is a free software program. It's in the cloud. What they do is they coordinate meetings using either virtual meetings or conference calling. But they have this platform, which is, one too many. This platform which allows you to schedule phone calls or meetings with multiple people. So if you're ever dealing with that lead or prospect, like you've got two busy people and you're trying to coordinate both of their schedules and your schedules, and perhaps even like a fourth person, like it could be your builder or your designer or your sales manager. Sometimes you have 4 or 5 people you're trying to coordinate with one meeting. Well, what TimeBridge allows you to do is you go and you set up an account. You're able to integrate either your Outlook calendar with TimeBridge, or you can use your Gmail calendar, and I think it works with Mac as well. So Star, I know you'd be excited about that. And you can go in and you can propose up to 5 times that work best for you. And then what you do is you invite all the attendees. You just invite them via email to specify which times they prefer. They will get an email, they click on it, they go in and they'll see the calendar, they'll see all the times you propose, and they'll say, well, this is my best time, my first, second, and third. Once everyone goes through and does that, TimeBridge will go and juggle everyone's schedules, and they'll pick the best time to meet based on the first, second, and third. So you can use this not only for scheduling a phone call, you can use it for scheduling a meeting as well. It's a manual way to do it, so it takes a little bit of time, but if you're juggling multiple calendars, it's really ideal. It's very simple. It's all free to set up an account. They don't have to have an account set up to use it. All they'll see is your calendar and what times you propose, and it'll prompt them to specify which is their first, second, and third. Now, the other tool is the automated. So we've created this Talk To program, and this is Star Tingle from Sanctuary Homes, but we're utilizing it on the website. We're also utilizing it in her nurturing program. And the call to action is to, hey, when you want to talk to me, schedule a time. So if I simply am having a difficult time somebody, to get them onto the phone, I can just send them a link and say, hey, you know what, click on this link and then just tell me when you want to talk. So they would come to this landing page. If they're already in the system, this will be pre-populated. Their first name, last name, and email will be on there. They put the phone number that they want you to call at. They put any comments in here, things they want to talk about. They would go down here and they would pick the day of the week, and then there's a drop-down menu right here where they would pick the time. And so what we pre-populated is from 9 to 5. We blocked out weekends, but if you want weekends not blocked out, we can change that. And they're able to hit the schedule now. So what will happen is you will get an email. If they're already assigned as the salesperson, you'll get the email, or the sales manager gets the email. And then you will just email them back to confirm that you can talk Friday at 2 o'clock, and go through the information they want to go through. So right now, most of you have this on your website, but if you don't have it on your website and you want it, we can certainly integrate it for you. The technology is done. So just send Adriana a note for that. Okay, so let's move into qualifying as well. So now I'm using the AIDAT formula with the phone. So whenever I get on the phone with somebody, I want to build their attention. I want to set how much time do I expect to be on the phone. And the primary reason for me getting someone on the phone is I want to go through my needs analysis. So we put together the lead intake sheet. We have one for home builders. We have one for remodelers. It's all in Game Day Coaching. So if you have not met them yet, you can download this sheet. I highly recommend it. There's a little script on there for how you get started with somebody. But you're going to build their attention by just saying, hey, Runa, do you have 10 minutes? Yeah, I got 10 minutes. Great. Okay, how do I build interest? I'd like to learn more about the type of home or project you're considering, so then I can share some ideas. Okay, because remember, it's what's in it for me from their perspective. By the time we're done, I'll be able to share some information you really find beneficial. Then my action, of course, is going through my needs analysis questions. And there's 7 areas of needs analysis. Everything's on that sheet. It's all already in a question format. And then if they're a viable prospect, I close for the on-site appointment. I thank them for the time. Thanks for the time you shared with me. I look forward to meeting you on this date at this particular place. Now, let's assume the situation is that someone did not return your voicemail and or email. And this is where we're going to bring in texting and email. So I recommend is when you leave someone a voicemail, you would use this format still. And you would walk through, and when you get to action, you would say, you can call me back at this number, or I will send you an email and a text if it's easier to get back from me that way too. So what I'm doing now is I'm giving the leader or the prospect 3 different ways to get back to me. And the text messages, of course, the open rate is off the chart. It's like 90+%, where email average open rate might be 25%. So text works great, and of course your younger demographics love to text. Somebody might call you back on voicemail if they're an older demographic, and they're used to talking versus texting or emailing. Or somebody, you might get a real quick response on email that would say, yeah, I can talk to you Tuesday at 4. Now, if the situation is you have tried to do texting and emailing and nothing is working, the last resort is a thank you note with a gift card. And a thank you note, what I mean is by this, it's a handwritten note to say, hey, I understand you've been busy. Sorry, I've been missing you. Here's a little coffee card on me. Stop by, buy yourself a treat. And I usually put like a $5 coffee card in there. And when you get a moment, I would really appreciate catching up. Send that out to them. It's a guilt. I call it a guilt guilt trip. I'm married to a Catholic, and Catholics are great with guilt. But anyway, you guilt them, and then roughly 48 to 72 hours later, after they've received it, they've had it in their possession for 24 hours, you follow up with a phone call and an email again, and perhaps a text. And the odds are they're going to reply to one of those. Oh, sorry, we've been busy. Yeah, we're still interested. Or, oh, sorry, we bought from somebody else, or whatever. But at least you know. All right, so now the situation is you get them on the phone on your lead intake sheet. These are the 7 areas. 7 areas that we're going after. And I'm not going to get real into them except for number 7 is the hot buttons. We need to figure out, after going through the lead intake sheet on the phone, is what are the 3 things that are really driving them to either remodel their home or build a new home, or consider selling their home, or both. And what I need to do is I figure out these hot buttons in order to get them on site. So that goes into number 3 is, I want to get an on-site meeting, and what are my tech tools that I should be using. Well, I've got in here video on your phone. Pretty simple. For video, here's what I recommend. If you have a smartphone, flip camera, whatever, and has a video recorder on it, you want to give them a visual teaser of what they're going to get when they come meet with you. So a visual teaser. So if they're going to come meet with you at your model home, they haven't been there yet, do a video, a 2-minute video or a 3-minute video of walking through your model home and highlight the really cool parts about your model home. Maybe it's a video of your neighborhood and show them, the entrance monuments, show them some of the amenities of your neighborhood. Or it could be a video of your showroom or your office or your design center or selection center. It doesn't matter. But again, you want to give them a visual teaser, because it's one thing to set the appointment, it's another thing to actually get them there. So what the video does, if you say, hey, here, I'll send you a link of where we'll be meeting, you can take a quick look at the model home or the showroom or the selection center or whatever it is, and we'll see you there Tuesday at 4. You just shoot the video, put it on YouTube, and then send them a link to watch it. And for some reason, I have asked my clients to do video over and over and over again, and nobody will do it. It's so simple to do. You can upload the video most of the time right from your smartphone. You can edit it within YouTube right now, and it takes literally 2 or 3 minutes to shoot it. And I again, going back to my property management with my vacation homes, I do simple video walkthroughs of the interior of the homes and of the exterior of the homes, because people are looking online. And I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views, and I get people that rent from me all the time because they feel confident that they're getting a nice place to rent from. So you want to, again, use the video to build confidence that, hey, I really do want to come meet with you. Now, number 2, of course, your tech tools is this. I can go back and use TimeBridge again. And so if I'm trying to coordinate multiple schedules, say, well, I could meet here, here, or here, or simply just give them an alternative choice close. And the alternative choice is, well, I have Tuesday at 4 open, or I have Saturday at 2 open. What works better for you, or you and your wife? And I have the picture here of pulling on the rope, is because you can't push anybody, but you can pull them. And you can use these technology tools and use the system to pull them. So that is it for the training. We're 5 minutes over, but I want to finish up here just to confirm that we did record this. We will be sending out a copy of the PowerPoint. It'll all be in a link. We'll load it up to Game Day Coaching. You'll be able to watch it again. You'll be able to download it. But are there any specific questions right now? Okay, so Star was asking, can she see a copy of one of your walkthrough videos? Yeah, I'll be happy to send you a copy of videos from my vacation properties. They are hardly great videos, but they get the job done, that's for sure. I'll send those out with the update, Star. Is there anything else as far as questions or thoughts on this training we did today? Okay, I see none. Runa, anything you want to add here before we finish up?
No, I'm fine. This is great.
Okay, so just a reminder, first of all, everyone have a very safe and happy Memorial Weekend. We will not be meeting again for our second part of a day in the life training until June 14th. June 14th. So we'll be meeting with owners and managers on June 7th, but salespeople training again will be June 14th, Thursday, June 14th. So it's going to be a few weeks. So you'll have obviously access to Game Day Coaching. You'll have all this, but I recommend, hey, try doing some of this. Shoot a couple of videos of where you're going to meet. Try out these scripts for these emails, and do some testing. Try some different things. There's also an email tutorial in Game Day Coaching. So if you just go in there and use the search function for email tutorial, you can download I put together a section on subject lines that get attention. So feel free to download that and use that. And then the AIDAT formulas in there. There's several examples of how that works. That's it. So watch for the follow-up email here probably later today, if not tomorrow. And y'all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Thanks very much.